Welcome to another episode of UCRD Reviews. So today we have another entry in the MSX line, this time from Xeon, the MS-11 Act Zaku version anime. So the Act Zaku hasn't had a figure for about 15 years now, and that was in the Xeonography line. It was the Act Zaku and the Zaku Flipper. And now we have it in the Robot Spirits, which is pretty cool because it never had an MSIA or anything like that. So now we get this odd-looking blue Zaku as a figure, which is pretty cool. It comes with a lot of neat stuff. I was really excited about this release. I like the MSX stuff. Obviously, I like the MSV stuff as well. And I'm really excited to see how good of a figure it really is. So let's take a look at it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Act Zaku. So get him out of the box here. So it's a really interesting design, very different from a Zaku II, which actually we'll take a look at here just to do a comparison. You'll see that you can move the mono eye with the removal of the head here. The head goes up quite a ways and comes down, and can rotate about that far without getting in the way of the armor here. You have a joint on the inside of kind of by where the chest is for the shoulders. Arms will go up about that far. Shoulder armor is hinged. You do have the double jointed elbows and double jointed hands as well. So nothing crazy, but good articulation. No real chest flex. This is all one piece here. The waist will go down about that far and then up about that far. You do have two cables on the back which can disconnect. Usually if you're just posing in crazy ways, check the cables because they're probably going to be disconnected. You have a little ball jointed thruster back here that's compatible with thruster effects. Really neat detail on the backpack. I really like this design. You do have a storage piece here and another one underneath it, and you have side storage on the skirt armors, which are just hinged. Same with these, are kind of an awkwardly placed ball joint. And then you get into the legs, so they can come out, let me see here, about that far. I mean, nothing. Looks like this one's kind of got something in the way. Nothing too crazy. You don't have, you do have, you kind of have leg swivel. If you swivel them too far out, the plastic pushes against the middle there and kind of pops them off. But you have some leg swivel. You have decent knee articulation. Nothing crazy. A little flap here. Feet can go side to side, up and down. You do have toe articulation, like so. You do have compatibility with thruster effects as well. So no crazy articulation, but it's enough to make the figure look good in poses, which is really all I ask for, but you can be the judge of that. So let's take a look at what it comes with. So before I dive into the accessories, you do get a simple sticker sheet with some numbers on it that you can place onto the Act Zaku. You also get a fancy hand holder, complete with a standard set of hands, two different posing hands, trigger hands, and sword hands. One thing that was a kind of a concern was the hands are almost loose on here, which is kind of interesting. I mean, they just, with no effort, pop right off. You'll see this one's like kind of wiggling around in there. I haven't even put any hands on the Act Zaku yet, so in a minute I'll comment on how the hands fit on there, but on these, I mean, you can see that hand just barely stays on there. So the next thing on here is the antennas. So you get two sets. One set as a one's to go on the Axe Zaku and another one as a replacement. And the way these fit is on the backpack here. You have two little holes. And so we'll go ahead, and this is going to end up being a GM command problem all over again, because these are very tiny. There's not really anywhere to hold on to them, and no real good way of pushing them in there. I'm going to see if I can do it off camera and then show you real quick. So what it is, and I didn't notice this at first, and you may not even be able to see it, but they're oriented for a particular side. There's a cutout at the very bottom. So one antenna will only fit on one side, and the other antenna will only fit on the other side. They do fit pretty snug. They're not falling off, so it is good to have replacements in case they break, but they look good as is. Always just keep your Axe Zaku facing downward. Now, we get into the weaponry. So we'll start over here. The Axe Zaku comes with two hand grenades. The hand grenades are molded into their holders, which isn't that big of a deal, but you can't pose the Axe Zaku like throwing a grenade or anything, unlike the desert or the Zaku desert type or the gun cannon heavy arms. They do store on the skirt armor like so. However, they don't stay on very well. They're a little bit wobbly. So I wouldn't rely on this storage too much. If you bump it, it'll kind of fall off or get stuck in the cables. So you get two of these. We do have two beam sabers with the longest handles I've ever seen. The beams are down here underneath the tray because they are lazy, and they're yellow, which is pretty cool, and they just pop right in. Very simple. So you have a pretty long beam saber overall. Now they do have a storage, and that is this piece right here, and it'll actually plug onto the back. So what we'll do is plug it in right like that, and then you put one going in one direction and the other in the other direction. So this is how the beam sabers would store. Speaking of close combat weaponry, you also get a large heat hawk or tomahawk. You get a deactive version as well. They really missed the opportunity to give you two active versions, like Sanguine's Axe Zaku Commander type, but at least you get one here. They do store on the, I mean they can store anywhere, but the side skirt armor is their preferred area, so they can kind of store however you want. It is doubled storage. I don't know if you can see there, you have storage on both sides, so it really doesn't matter how you want to do it. So you can store them like that. They are kind of large. Might get in the way of stuff. You may even want to see if I can pop this off. You may even want to store them back here, so you can actually store it like that. Looks a little bit better. But you can store them wherever you want to. And then finally here, we've got the guns. So you have this gun. This is the beam rifle. So the Axe Zaku had a very powerful generator and was capable of using beam weaponry. You'll probably recognize that this is pretty much the Marasai's beam rifle as well as the Hyzax. So this is exactly what they were developed from. You have a removable ECAP magazine and a little folding handle here. It is compatible with a firing effect, and it is storable. We'll get into that in a minute. It has some nice paint on it as well. Lastly here, you get the bullpup machine gun, which is this really weird looking machine gun, and it's a bullpup because the magazine is behind the trigger. But this thing actually moves around quite a bit. You have a spinning buttstock that is extendable, which is an odd design in a Robot Spirits figure, but hey, whatever. The magazine moves around quite a bit. The front handle, or actually the trigger, can move around, and the barrel itself, or the 4 barrels, can move around as well. So overall, just interesting design. It is a shell-firing weapon. And so now that we have it here, let's go over the storage. So it uses the larger peg. So we're going to go ahead and pop this up. Now whatever you have stored here, like the beam sabers, they can actually stay there. I don't know about the I don't think the Heat Hawk can, but it'll pop in like that, and then you can plug the gun right in like so, and then the beam rifle will attach in a similar fashion. If I can get it in there. Come on. There we go. So it'll attach right like that. So both guns can be stored pretty easily. Now lastly here you get 2 effect parts, one of which is one we have a million of, a slashing effect, but this one's yellow. Pretty simple. And you have, if I can get it out of here, there we go, a beam firing effect, which can attach to the beam rifle, which looks pretty good, again in yellow. Alright, so just to do a little comparison, I brought out my Zaku II Kai, because why not? And this is a full loadout Act Zaku with every weapon that he can possibly have on him. And then you have my little Zaku II Kai. So you see there's just major design differences between the two. You know, obviously one's a 0080 type figure and one's more of the Mobile Suit Gundam type, but I mean, they almost don't even look, aside from the head, they don't look like the same suit at all. Like, everything is different. But one thing I will comment on, in changing all the weapons and things, the hands do in fact fit kind of loose. I don't know if that's a problem with mine or if that's a quality control issue across the board. So if you have the Act Zaku, leave me a comment down below. Let me know how the hands fit. And also the rear handle on the bullpup machine gun can actually swivel forward and backward, so it can swivel the gun. So you have a little bit more posing options. But 2 really cool figures, two really nice ones. This one's one of my absolute favorites, and I do like the Act Zaku. It has a couple issues, but we'll get into that at the end. Now that we've seen everything the Act Zaku has to offer, the question is it worth its price tag? It is a P-Bandai exclusive, which means it's going to be a bit more expensive. I paid about $88.88 for mine before shipping, but it is, like I said, it's a unique design, and I really like it. It does have some problems. The grenades here, which oddly enough were missing from my full loadout Act Zaku earlier, they fall off pretty easily. The hands on mine did not fit all that well. I mean, they stay on good enough for posing, but they'll fall off. You know, if you're moving stuff around, they'll come rolling off. It's missing a commander type head, which I know isn't part of like the original, you know, MSX design of it. I know that was for a side story manga, but it would have been cool to get something like that. And it's missing a second turned on Heat Hawk. Same reason. I know that's technically the Act Zaku commander type, but it would have been so easy to make, and they kind of missed the ball on that one, or dropped the ball on that one. And the effect parts are neat. You know, both of them are featured here, but I would have liked, you know, a machine gun firing effect for the bullpup. It's such a unique weapon, or maybe, you know, something a little bit more unique. But being a P-Bandai exclusive, we're lucky to get any effect parts. So I guess what we got is good enough. But tell me what you think about the figure, what you would have liked to have seen, if you agree with me, and what you want to see next. I know coming down the pipeline is going to be the Perfect Gundam and the Dom Tropin. So keep an eye out for both of those. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate you guys' support for all my reviews, and I'll see you next time.